I went Turkey Valley though, not Southwind, sorry.
So anyway, I'm gonna turn it over to her and run out and get your helmet.
Wait, now where's the right and the?
No, you gotta, I think I'm gonna put you right there.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't have it.
This is the hardest part of anything I do, is running a computer, because I'm old. All right, thanks for having me, guys. This is one of the most exciting parts of my job, is I get to go out and speak to people and do different things. And I feel privileged to be able to be here with you guys today. I'm going to go through, first of all, just tell you a little bit. I'm going to go through the slideshow, and then I'm going to go through and kind of explain things as we go. And then I've got Sheryl emailed me all your questions, and hopefully we can get through all of them. Our time is pretty short. So, and then at the end, we'll do some more stuff, and I wrote down some things that are kind of interesting. I understand you guys will be taking driver's ed this fall, or during the summer, I guess it would be. So I got some pointers that will save a life and make a difference in your futures too. So we're gonna talk about the aircraft, we're gonna talk about the fun things I get to do, but I also want to focus a little bit on you guys as you guys are growing older, because a lot of things can be prevented. People that we fly, and whether it be babies or all the way up to elderly people, a lot of it can be prevented. So this is our aircraft. We took this out at Marion Airport. We actually have a hangar out there. This is our crew here now. We were missing a couple people. We fly in a Bell 407. If anybody knows anything about aircrafts, a little bit smaller, you guys may or may not know it. You have an aircraft in the Corps right now. Gunderson Lutheran is a very good program out of La Crosse, Wisconsin, actually stages there. I don't know if they're 24/7 or if it's just days, but when I came by the airport, it actually wasn't. I didn't see it unless it's in the hangar. So for aircrafts, a hangar is basically their garage, is all it is. This is our crew. We're out there. We took them for our Christmas picture here. We fly with medic nurse. Our paramedics have all worked, when I say on the streets, so they've been either with some service or a volunteer service for at least 15 years. Us nurses, we grew up in the hospital. We learn everything. I worked in intensive care and coronary care for 22 years before I even thought about flying, and honestly, I attribute my flying love now to one of the girls I worked at St. Luke's with in the intensive care unit. She went down to fly, went down to the emergency room, and she tried to get me to go 5 years before I finally decided I would want to do this. I wouldn't go because I hated sick kids. We fly a lot of kids, actually. And I finally decided I wanted to do something different, and that's kind of what took me into flying. This aircraft, our old one is the blue one, the new one is the one we're in now. They actually, we changed. We used to own our own aircraft. You can't survive, everything's competition. So we went with Medtrans, they own the aircraft. You guys, there's a lot of aircrafts in Iowa. University of Iowa has one at Iowa City, they have one at Covenant, Waterloo, and they have one in Findlay, in Dubuque. And do we really need all these aircrafts? Probably not, but that's my opinion. We can be in Dubuque in 15 minutes from Cedar Rapids. So there is no certificate of need to justify that we can put an aircraft here. It's the middleman, it's the Air Methods and the Medtrans decide, well, we're going to put an aircraft here, can you get us a crew, blah, blah, blah. We're kind of the outstanding rare beast of the Medtrans group. We are actually stationed at St. Luke's Hospital. Everybody been to Cedar Rapids? If not, it's okay. The S-Curves by Quaker Oats, our pad is right there, you can't miss it. It's probably the best billboard we have at the hospital is the helicopter when it's there. We're the only blue helicopter that I'm aware of in the area or in Iowa, except for like Des Moines. So, when Medtrans, they own the pilots and they own the aircraft. They painted it blue, we changed the tail number to LG911, and they've been fantastic for us. We pay them so much a mile, we pay them so much to have the aircraft there, blah, blah, blah. But they have been very, very good partner. Some of you may or may not heard, I think it's been 3 years ago in January, they lost a full crew out of Mason City North at Mason City. They got into icing, the weather looked great when they took off, and they lost the whole crew. These things can happen. Since then, we've got autopilot put in every one of the Medtrans aircrafts. They gave us all night vision goggles, so we're as safe as we possibly can be out there. And I'll have to be honest, I have to drive I-380 to work every day. I feel safer in the air than I actually do on the ground, believe it or not, on the interstate between Iowa City and Cedar Rapids. So, depends on who you are. If you think you're at risk, you probably shouldn't be flying. And we had a couple people after the accident that really thought twice. We all have families and stuff, but you have to really know what is it you want to do. Is it worth the risk versus the benefit? So, right now the white one is ours now, and that's actually painted blue, and you'll see it here. This is just kind of some specifics. We can put, as long as we can get the patient in and close the door, we don't have a weight limit. We as crew cannot weigh more than 220 pounds. That's kind of the standard across the industry. And my manager pretty much holds us to it, so I can't go eat all the donuts I want, because I love donuts and I love sweets. But she holds us to it that we really do, even though we can put as big a patient in, as long as we get the door shut, and everybody gets buckled in and secured, we can go ahead and fly that patient. So that's one of the benefits we have over some of the other aircrafts, even though we have a lot of aircrafts in Iowa. We fly about 160, 162 miles an hour, and I will tell you, if we have a tailwind, we're coming from Allen, Waterloo, going to the University of Iowa, and we have a 40-mile-an-hour wind pushing us, ground speed, I've been over 200 miles an hour. So we always ask our pilot, like, we're really moving fast, how fast are we going? And they can tell us exactly. But when you're going to Allen with a 40-mile-an-hour wind hitting you, you feel like you're not moving at all. So about 50 gallons of jet fuel is what we burn per hour. Jet fuel used to be about $2.50 at the Marion Airport, now it's about $3.29 or so. So pretty comparable to gasoline to a point. We do all our fueling mostly at the Marion Airport, because now we have a hangar to put it in, so we can put it in there and fuel right there and everything. The hospital, we do not have fuel on site. So if we fly a patient to St. Luke's or wherever, we have to go get fuel somewhere else. We don't have it on site there. So that's one of the things. This tells you how long the blades are and about flight time. We always, when we fly, we make sure we've got 20 to 25 minutes of fuel extra. So if we are getting that low, then we are told that we have to go refuel somewhere. If we fly up to Mayo Clinic, which we do a fair amount, we refuel at the Rochester Airport, and then we also fuel when we get back to Cedar Rapids, because we want to have full fuel when we get a call. This is our NICU team. Our NICUs are babies. Anybody that can fit in the isolette, we say the baby in the box, they take it. So that's a nurse from the NICU, and we have a very high level NICU at neonatal intensive care unit at St. Luke's Hospital. So these girls and guys are very qualified to do their job. They also fly with a respiratory therapist right now. So when they go, our adult team, and I call myself the adult team, we don't go. We take the aircraft apart, we have to take the paramedic seat out, and you'll see this, and then we have to take a storage bag in the middle between us out, and our vent holder out, and then we can slide the isolette in, and I'll show you that here. This is the isolette that they put the babies in. So when they're actually sitting in the aircraft, the whole one side of the aircraft is nothing but the isolette, and so they can still work on that baby. Comparing us versus them, they can be on the ground, fly to Waterloo and Allen and get a baby, and they can be on the ground 2-3 hours. They completely stabilize their patient before they leave. Us, we can fly out on I-380 and be there, land, less than 10 minutes, have the patient loaded, and we're gone. That's the difference. Or even to a hospital. I was just up at Decorah a couple weeks ago, actually. Flew into Decorah, and less than 15 minutes we were in and out. We should not be at very long anywhere we go as an adult team, because our job is rapid transport, stabilized rapid transport. We can do a lot in helicopter. I can put IVs in, I can give them a breathing tube, I can put them on a ventilator, I can warm their fluids, so we shouldn't be spending time in an ER doing that. This is our helicopter coming out of St. Luke's Hospital. Our pad is probably one of the most dangerous pads because it sits right between two walls of the building there. So when our pilots turn, I always watch for these windows on the side here that you see by the tail, because it makes me really nervous. So we call it drifting. So if I feel like the pilot's starting to move the helicopter and it's getting close to the building, I'll say, Mo, you're drifting. And he goes, thanks. And he may or may not be, but it makes him more alert that I need to get further away from the building. We have 4 pilots. We have, right now we just got we had one that left. He actually was a young guy that flew with the Florida police. Got his hours. You have to have a minimum of 2,000 hours flight time in a helicopter. He decided he's always wanted to fly commercial jets. So he's going to go live his dream and go fly commercial jets. Great guy, great pilot. So now we just hired another one, and right now all 4 of ours are all military. And actually the lead pilot still flies with the National Guard, so he's always out flying around, and you hear him a lot. He's very active, and he kind of controls and does training for the pilots and that kind of thing, besides MedTrans coming in. This is different parts of the helicopter. You see where I've got the skids. When we land at a scene, and the scene is anywhere but a hospital pad, like where we go from hospital to hospital, we consider that a scene. With a scene, we don't shut our rotors down. We keep them going. And the only reason we can do that is our skids sit high. So ideally, as long as you're not sticking a pole up here, and we never put our arms up when we're around the helicopter at all, we can go ahead and keep them going because that saves us 2 minutes. Our shutdown time is 2 minutes and our startup time is 2 minutes because of the jet engine in it. So we try to time is life, and we really live by that. But what do you think comes before that? It's always safety first, all right? So we never go into a scene without talking to somebody on the ground. So our local EMS people, our ambulance services, hi there, come in and we do tons of training. I love summer because we go in the evening and do lots of training. We get invited to the sweet corn festivals and things like that. We try to make ourselves very public appeared, and we try to also offer them education. So we kind of give and take with each other, but in the end of the day, we want everyone to go home to their families. That's the most important thing we do. So if I go out and I say, you know, I know your ceilings look good, and meaning how high we can see and how far we can see, those are the two things that determine, besides the weather in general, if we can fly or not. And my pilot says, you know, we got 2,000 feet, we got 5 miles, we're good to go. And I go out the door and I look at it and I'm like, in Cedar Rapids we have Mount Trashmore, we call it. If I can't see that and it's clear, I'm like, I call a no-go. Every one of us has a say. If I had my partner's had a big family crisis, lost her husband or a child, and she comes to work and you know she's a basket case, I'm gonna right away say, I call a no-go for today. We're not flying, she's not fit to fly. So we have to be fit for duty, whether it be mentally, spiritually, emotionally, physically, whatever. I try to make sure I always sleep before I go to work. I say my real job, I work every Friday, Saturday night. I'm a weekend package person. And then I worked days yesterday. I always get a nap before I go to work, or at least I try. Because I think it's important you come rested. If we ever get into a situation, your night vision decreases. The more exhausted you are, the less night vision you're going to have. We do have night vision goggles, but I'm not going to be as alert. If you guys are out half the night and you had some party, are you as alert as you are the next day? Probably not. And we go by that same philosophy. We have to be rested and prepared to work when we come. So this is our helicopter. The wire cutters, you see on the top, they're the wire cutters. We actually have wire cutters. I hope I never have to use them. Power lines, we have a lot of power lines. If we got into power lines, hopefully they would cut them and we would be all right. The pilots tell me that it's grounded. I hope I never have to find that out. They had a helicopter, a news helicopter a couple of years ago, got caught into wires out, I think it was south of the airport there, and he lost his life. So the jet fuel cap, that's where we put jet fuel. Jet A is what we fly with, and that's my door there. It's the best seat in the whole helicopter, I just want you to know. But we are trained to fuel hot, meaning the rotor's going, and also cold. The only time I personally will feel hot is we know we got another flight to go to and we have to put fuel on. Then I will, otherwise I won't, because it adds one more risk factor. I've got rotors turning above me. It's not worth it. This is the pilot's gadgets and gadgets. The only thing we as crew know how to do is number one, shut the fuel off and shut the power off. The little red button on the right-hand bottom side, that's the fuel shut off. And the power button has all these buttons up here. All we do is we push them all back and we know we've got the power off. Most people wouldn't know this. It's always a good quiz question when we go out to EMS and say, what do we have on the bottom of the helicopter? We actually have lifeguard painted on the bottom too. Because when you look up a lot of times you don't see the side if it's right above you, so you can see this lifeguard. This is coming out of the hospital again. And that back tail rotor spins so fast, and especially at night, you cannot see that thing going. And if we're on a scene, one of the first things we each do as a crew member getting out of the back of the helicopter is I find somebody from law enforcement or EMS, one of our area ambulance people or somebody, and I say, you don't let anybody go behind this tail from here to here. And we show them exactly, and that's part of the training we do, because if somebody gets in that tail rotor, they're going to be dead. That's just coming out of St. Luke's there. This is looking up, somebody took a picture off the 6th floor down at the helicopter. That's our pad. You know a helicopter pad because they paint an H on it, all right? Some of the obstacles, and when we're riding, we're not just going for, even if we don't have a patient on board, we're not going for a joyride. Some of my responsibilities are, I need to be watching for obstacles. So as we're coming out, I don't know if you guys see it there, we've got the windsock off the parking lot, the little orange thing. I'm always telling the pilot where that is. We have at night, some of the interstate lights, the bulbs are burned out. So if you didn't know those were there, you wouldn't necessarily know to be looking for. So I'll say, you've got 3 lights on the off-ramp that aren't lit. Okay, and they always say tally, and that means, okay, thanks, is how they talk in their lingo. On our, this is coming out of St. Luke's. Our ER and our hospital's right here. So this walkway and the whole pad is all heated. One year they forgot, we got an early snow and they forgot to turn the heat on earlier. And we actually had snow, we had to shovel off the pad and then they turned it on. These cords here, so like now it's cold out, it's 18 degrees. We put a heater inside the helicopter because we have IV fluids. We don't put all of our meds in there, like our narcotics and all that stuff. They'd be gone like this in Cedar Rapids. But none of those things, the helicopter's not even locked. But we do have a camera, our security monitors all the time, so if they see somebody out there that they don't know, they will have security check it out right away. But we plug a heater in, we put it on the cot, and then we run our cord through to keep the helicopter about 60 to 80 degrees so that we know our fluids are going to be okay. On the other side, we don't have the other, well, there's one cord hooked up. There's a Tanis heater. Anybody got like a diesel truck that Dad has a block heater? Kind of the same thing. It keeps the helicopter warm, so when we wind it up, it's ready to go. And then there's a third plug-in switch that we plug all of our, it plugs into the helicopter, but then we can charge our vent, we can charge our monitor, our fluid warmer, we can charge all that stuff while it's sitting on the pad, so when we get that go mission, then we can go. One of the things we do when we come out, first of all, when we get a call, is we get all those cords rolled up, and they can't be just laying on the pad, they have to be rolled up. Because we create quite a wind, and if Aunt Lou's in that parking lot there and she's got a wig on, we might take it off. So, I mean, we create a lot of turbulence when we're coming in, and that's one of the kind of courtesy things we do, because people can park actually and drive right along here. They finally one day somebody put his Harley in this parking spot, drove it in, and there's a slant. He drove it in instead of backing it in, and we actually tipped it over because of the wind current. So we ended up doing a new paint job for him on his gas tank. But anyway, they finally put signs of high turbulence there so that people realize just how much current we create with these rotors. So when we come out, we do a walk around. We roll up all the cords, and there's usually a yellow sock, and I'll show you that hanging off the actual stick where the pilot is. That tells us and tells the pilot that there's stuff hanging off the helicopter. You cannot go anywhere. Don't even bother starting me up until you get rid of that. So he will also be doing a walk around, and that's required that every one of us need to do a walk around before we get in our helicopter to make sure that we have nothing hanging from the helicopter, sitting by the helicopter, or anything of such there. This is our entryway. We have a map. The map on the top right there, basically that tells us how high the towers are in the area we're at. And when we take off, our pilot says highest tower 1,800 feet. If you've ever been over by Walker or down Cedar Rapids, the highest tower is really about 3,000 feet. So we always say that we want to stay above that. And those big, big tall towers have wires that they're tied to. So we never get even close to those wires, because you get stuck in them, you're going to go down also. It's not like our rotors are just going to cut them off. The other thing here, basically, this is our entryway where we come into the, through those double doors there, you go right into the emergency room. So the patients that come back to St. Luke's, we have a direct route that we take them right into our ER. They don't have to go through the hospital. On the right-hand side by that chair is where we have our boots. On the other side is where we have our helmets and stuff. This is when we still had the helicopter blue. We did safety training. This is where I was talking. We meet with our local EMS and teach them how to put people on the cot, how we open and close the door, what we expect of them. If hats, when we load the helicopter and we're still going, the rotors are going, everybody's hats have to go off, the sheets have to be tucked in, because those rotors will suck that stuff up. Plastic bags, believe it or not, you know, in a ditch or something, those can get tangled up in the rear rotor or even in the top and cause problems. So we are very, very vigilant. As you see with our suits, this was at night, we have, everything's reflective. And that's one of the things, we even added reflection tape to our jackets too. Like now it's cold enough that we are wearing our jackets, but soon we'll be running around with them in the trunk instead of on us. So here's where we're just doing some safety training with them and telling them how we do things. And then we always encourage these people to bring their family, friends, and relatives to see the helicopter too, because if you've never seen it, they don't know what to expect. Gunderson's is bigger than ours, so if you guys ever get to see Gunderson Lutherans come in somewhere, they fly to West Union and Decorah a lot. And that would be a really quick flight, I mean, from the airport. Well, from Cedar Rapids to Iowa City is 12 minutes for us. They could probably make it from the airport to Winnebago County Hospital in 3 minutes, once they're wound up. It's very quick. This here is one of the, we have night vision goggles, so things you guys can't see on the roadways when you're driving with mom and dad, we can see as we're coming into scenes. This is the monocle, this is the one the nurse usually has, and then the binocular ones, those are the ones we hook onto our helmet. Obviously I've got my reindeer ears on now, and they hook right on the helmets, they flop down, and you can see, we had a pilot that loved to hunt, so he could always see the big bucks. Look at that one. And we're flying about 1,200 feet, believe it or not, you still can see that stuff pretty darn good. So, these run off of batteries. When the batteries are starting to get low, they blink a little red lights. We know we gotta switch them out. Just a AA battery is all it is. We have 2 sets that go in the back here. And anytime like now, obviously it gets dusk and dawn are our 2 most dangerous times because the lighting is just a little bit different. And a full moon can be bad because with our night vision, everything reflects. When I look out in the really dark night, and even when it's not really dark yet, everything looks, to me, I always say, well, the trees look like they have snow on them, and everything looks green. I don't particularly like them, but it certainly makes us 100% safer. We have to have goggle time 3 times at least in 3 months. So if somebody hasn't flown, like our day people, we have some straight day people, that if they don't fly late now, they don't meet their goggle requirements, so we'll take them up at night and they'll have to come in extra and do their goggle time. And these are very expensive. If these would disappear, we would be, it's a big security thing. So we would be in like big trouble, not just a little bit of trouble. These are how they go on our helmets here, and you can't put shields down, and I'll talk about the shields when I show you my helmet. That's in our entryway. We can see where we put our helmets above. We all have lockers and stuff. This is the helicopter. I just took these when I worked on TV yesterday, whatever. That's looking in from the right-hand side. Your fuel tank is right here, okay? This here's our dump bag. We have, let's see, we have a CMAC. We have like 4 other things we bring with us from the hospital.
Okay, whoa, stop. Tell them what you're talking. CMAC.
Okay, so a CMAC basically is this, it's a way of putting a breathing tube down for someone. And it's a little bag. We have 5 different parts of it we can use. We can choose which one. It makes it easier. It's got like a little video screen on it so we can see exactly what we're doing versus you'll see paramedics on TV, they just do a blade and they don't see a little screen where they can see exactly what they're doing. This is our breathing machine. So I sit here, the medic always sits over here. This was it was cold yesterday. So this is how we put our heater in. We have a little foam thing that our cord goes here and that we cover the rest of the window. Heart monitors up here, everybody, no matter what, it's going to be on a heart monitor, and this is our supplies, this is our fluid warmer. Motor vehicle accidents this time of day, night, this time of year period, they're going to be cold, but if somebody in the middle of summer ends up to be a drowning, those patients are very, very cold too, for the most part. So even if it's 90-degree water and you're adding cold, like a breeze over them, they're going to cool. So we almost always warm all our patients with the fluids we give them. This here has like bamboo bags to give them oxygen. It has dressings in it if someone's bleeding. An IO, basically an IO, you know, you think of an IV, you have a catheter and you put it through their vein. Well, a lot of people, believe it or not, don't have much for veins, and when they're in a crisis, their veins go like this, so you can't get IVs in. This is a drill, and really it does look like a little drill. Just like if you go out to your dad's garage, it looks like that. And we have needles that hook into that drill, and you just go zoop, you hit the button, it drills it right into the bone marrow. So, a couple of places you can go. Proximal humerus, you can go into the bone marrow there. You can go top leg, bottom leg. And the same thing with the kiddos, the little babies. We usually go in the leg with the babies. We don't have protocols to do proximal humerus for them. But you can draw back blood usually. You do a blood sugar off that blood, and then you can run anything through it as long as they're compatible or they are okay in a regular IV. So blood you can't put with anything else. It has to be by itself, so you're going to give blood. And we're actually going to start carrying blood too. So that's what that is. Same picture, just different thing there. I don't think there's anything new or different. This blanket, we always have our patients in some kind of a blanket wrap. Sharps container.
What will you carry for blood then? Is it just O negative?
Yeah, we'll carry O neg and then we'll carry some fresh frozen plasma too, because anybody over 60 almost in America anymore is on some kind of a blood thinner. So if they've been some kind of a traumatic event, got a leg cut off, whatever, or bleeding, we can give them blood products. It's better to give them blood because your blood carries your oxygen in your system versus giving them IV fluids because that just gives you volume. It does nothing else for you. So it's much better medicine to give them blood than it does to drown them in fluids. And we always say with trauma patients, those patients with motor vehicle accidents or whatever, if they have low blood pressures, sooner rather than later, and you're going to have better outcomes for them. This is our radio, part of our radio system. Above our monitors, the rest of it where you do your dialing. But this, we can talk to almost anybody, anywhere. So we call, our helmets hook into the radio system, and then we can talk to each other all the time and nobody can hear us in the aircraft. If we turn it into a different setting, then we can talk to, like every time we go to Iowa City, we call their ER and give them a patient report. They just want to know briefly what we're doing. When we come back, our security, we let them know we're coming back into the helipad. We go to Waverly, they want us to let them know we're coming in there because they can smell the jet fuel. And if you haven't smelled diesel fuel, it smells the same, it stinks. So we can talk anywhere. If we have an emergency on board and we've got a big problem, we can hit this red button, and that's our emergency button that they can track us. The people that call us, like if somebody calls the lifeguard number and says, we need a helicopter, our dispatch now is actually not Cedar Rapids anymore. We are with MedTrans out of Texas. So in Texas, they're sitting there at a big screen and they can tell us from minute to minute where we're at. Even though the pilots every 15 minutes have to call in where we're at by GPS coordinates, they can tell exactly where we're at. So it's just a double check. The other thing that they have in Texas, they have a pilot sitting there also looking at the weather. So there's only once since we went with this dispatch that we had, they called and said, do you know this weather's here? So the pilot says, yep, I know where it's at, but we're good. So we have like 4 people looking at weather for us. This is that yellow thing I said that can hang outside the helicopter. It says there's something hanging from it. Only the pilot can take this off. If we're broke down, there's a red sock we put on, and only the mechanic can take that off. So the pilot can't even take that off. I don't like it when either one of them, or when the red one's on, because then we're broke down and we can't fly. The pilot's helmets are white, ours are all blue to match the aircraft. The trunk, we have a trunk, just like your folks have a trunk in their car. These are our oxygen tanks that actually pipe into the helicopter, and whatever else we want to put back here. We keep our OB, our baby bag, mom's going to deliver back there. That's a really bad day, but we do not put anybody in labor having contractions in the helicopter. Our pilots don't really like to deliver babies. And the way we're configured, there's no way you can take good care of 2 patients, and it's a big no-no. You just don't do it. Either have to quit having contractions, or you don't fly them. And in that situation, we could go by ground with them, with the ground ambulance, and the pilot would fly wherever we're going and pick us up. So this is how this is the opposite side for me now. This is the paramedic side. Our whole doors, both of them flip open, and it ties down on the very front of the helicopter, the front side there. So our cot, actually, this is our heater that we plug in through the window. Here's our cot, the paramedic sits there, that bag goes in the trunk, and then their head, the patient's head is always right between the paramedic's legs. So, and that's the reason is for airway. So they can make sure they're breathing okay, and if they're not, we can help them breathe. So we want to be able to, without an airway, your ABCs, have these guys done CPR yet? BCLS?
I showed them just hands only, I showed them the
Okay.
video.
So without an airway, if you aren't breathing, you're probably not going to survive very well. So the cot actually comes out, and then it comes out again. So it comes completely out like that. Ours, we pull this part off, it unlocks, and this comes out. That's what our patients go on. We secure them in, and then we put them back in. And then we rotate it around. And this is actually in the old helicopter, but I didn't have any of the other one. So the other night we had it was during the day when I worked, we had 30-mile-an-hour winds down in Cedar Rapids. So if you let those rotors bounce like this, eventually something's going to break and something's going to come loose. So we always tie them down. So here you've actually got to see where we've got the 3 cords, it's all plugged in, we have it tied down. And you can see by looking, we aren't going nowhere, you can see all the fog there, and it was horribly foggy the other day. These here are all the way around the pad. We have a button on the pad and we have a button inside the thing. If we're coming in and there's fire, somebody can hit them and it foams everything. And it's kind of cool when they test it once a year, they actually test it and the whole pad's nothing but foam. But it's fast show retardant just for jet fuel in this kind of fire. So you couldn't go out with a water hose and start doing anything with it because it's not gonna work. But we have the foam, and then we actually have a standalone one too. If this pad, like the other day, we were actually broke down on our own pad, which is really a bad day. We can set up a second landing area. Back here, there's another parking lot, and we'd have to take down parking lot lights, but we can set up a temporary pad so a helicopter could still bring in another patient. We don't care where we take the patient, as long as we know they can get help. So if somebody cuts off their thumb with their table saw, and they want to come to St. Luke's Hospital, and I look and we don't have hand coverage that can reapply this thumb that they've got in their hand, we're not gonna bring them to St. Luke's Hospital. We're gonna find out, we're gonna call the university. Believe it or not, the 4th of July, the university had no one to put a hand back together, so to reimplant, so we ended up going to Mayo Clinic, and they do a ton of it. A huge amount of time to go to Mayo, it's for some kind of reimplantation. And then Allen and Waterloo, you get this far north, most people go to Mayo or Gunderson. Once in a while, we'll go back to the U, but you guys up here, and I grew up by Fort Atkinson, so we always went north too. All right, these are some of the things we get called to, motor vehicle crashes and stuff. I-380 between Iowa City and Cedar Rapids is horrible. No one can drive speed limit, and I'm not sure they even know what speed limit is anymore. So we do see a lot of motor vehicle crashes. You guys, I can't say it enough. Seatbelts and airbags save lives. It is amazing what a person can go through with seatbelts and airbags. And if you're in the back seat, you guys, just because Mom says you don't have to buckle up, please buckle up. That buckle will save your lives. The other thing, when you put your buckle on, don't just buckle here and just kind of up here. You want your buckles down along your hip bones, because that's what's going to save you, all right? Up here, you're going to end up with a lot of belly injuries, all right, or bladder, ruptured bladder. So make sure that when you're buckling up, buckle with a purpose, and airbags are huge, huge. More and more law enforcement is trying to keep traffic going. I was on a crash on I-380, and you know those wires along, they try to keep you so a vehicle can't go from one side of the highway to the other. I don't know what you call those wires. But anyway, a semi got all tangled up, and he was there, and what happened is they did have to stop both the 2 lanes on the one side, so then they had like 3 accidents that were chain reactions way back, all the way to Cedar Rapids, because people just didn't slow down. So we actually ended up having to call more ambulances besides us flying the guy out of the semi. That took us like an hour and a half just to get him out of it. And that's where we rely on our fire. Fire does all the extrication. We do not. Our paramedics, a lot of them have ridden with the ground ambulance or with a volunteer service, and they learn about extrication. Us nurses know nothing about it, and nor do I want to be involved in that. It's not unlikely that if they secure the scene and tell us, yes, you're safe to go in and do an IV on them, or put an airway in to keep the patient alive, we can do that as long as they tell us it's safe to do it. So we put our lives in their hands too.
We get about 10 minutes, I'm just.
Okay. Just more people that we get involved with. Sheriff, we have a rescue team that has a paramedic. Here we're coming into a scene, so you can see they've cleared it. Here's where we're gonna land, probably over here. So you got wires there you have to watch out for. So we in the ditch. We're coming in with Mechanicsville that had a motor vehicle crash. So we got trees on the right side. We need 100 foot by 100 foot is what we need to land, which isn't very big. And here they told us this is just a hospital pad. That's over in Illinois, Peoria. We do a lot of PR stuff where we public relations. University of Iowa, we come in there a lot, so I'm going to take a picture of us coming in there. This is Marion Airport. Our hangar is way in the top right-hand side. There's where we put it in at. We washed it a little more than just washing your car, but we use special soap, and we did that the other day at 35 degrees. This is how we get in the hangar. This thing just drives, the pilots put it underneath it and it lifts it up. It's got cylinders on it. And that's backing it in. That's our lead pilot. We had a party out at the hangar one day, just all the families and stuff. That's my little grandson there. He's got to make sure Scott's doing it right. All right. So now questions. He thinks he's going to fly someday. We'll see. This is when he was 2. All right. So let's just go through some of your questions here. Education. I don't get paid any more than our ER nurses do. When we're not flying, we work in the ER. I I love that. Some of our team doesn't like it as much because of the fact that we keep our skills up that way. We fly about 1 patient a day, on the average is what we do. I work 7P to 7A, and then we have people that work days, and I kind of jump back and forth. As far as job qualifications to be hired for us, our service, and it depends on the service too. Our service, you have to work either 3 years of crit care, meaning intensive care, coronary care, or you have to work 3 years in the emergency room. And you have to be a nurse for at least 3 years. And then we have a whole bunch of different certifications and stuff we have to do and keep them up or we can't fly. We fly medic nurse, I already told you that. How much do I make? On the average, our crew would average $20 to $30 an hour. We don't make a lot. I can make as much going working at Quaker Oats. Probably more actually than doing what I'm doing, believe it or not. So, and the nurses are actually, the medics are paid by St. Luke's Hospital. Most difficult part of my job, I think, is when children are injured, when it could have been prevented. Kids not being buckled up by their parents. Kids not being put in their car seats appropriately. Those kind of things. And I'll tell you guys, drugs and alcohol are totally one of the biggest problems of the major crashes and things we see, because hardly ever do people come in and they don't have some kind of adults, some kind of drugs and alcohol, and that kind of stuff is really, really preventable. So when you guys are out there driving and your friends and buddies are with you, and as you grow, really make good choices, because they could be your life could be depending on it. I love to fly. I have the best job in the world. We only carry 1 patient. We never, ever go more than 1 patient. We can fly anywhere. If we go further, the furthest I've ever gone was the University of Chicago. It was for a thumb amputation. We couldn't get in care anywhere else, so we flew to Chicago. That's the farthest I've gone. If we don't have weather, sometimes we get fixed wing, Mayo's fixed wing, or care out of Iowa City, that maybe they have guidelines that they can fly the patient that we can't with helicopter. We call it rotor versus fixed wing. Strangest injuries, I don't know that there's anything one stranger than another. Safe to fly, I told you I already feel like I feel safer in the air than I do on the ground. Kind of things we fly: head injuries, motor vehicle crashes, stroke patients, lots of stroke patients, heart attacks, asthmatics that can't breathe, people falling from horses, you guys. Helmets, wear your helmets if you're riding horses, you're riding motorcycles, you're riding mini bikes, your bicycles, your rotor blades, your ATVs. One of the deadliest things, and you guys are in a rural area, is ATVs. If you're going to ride them, be safe and slow down. We see a lot of teenagers getting killed with ATVs, and they're very deadly. I had 2 kids one day that both got killed on them. So those kind of things are really, really important. All right, questions?
Cell phones.
Oh, we can't use our cell phones in the aircraft anymore. Medtrans says no cell phones. Because it interferes with electronics, our pilots say it really doesn't, but that's their standard, so we don't question it. We have a satellite phone that we can hook in, and we can call anywhere off the satellite phone. So we use that if we have to, otherwise we use our radios. My helmet, just a quick look at my helmet. Ear protection, we always, when the rotors are going and we don't have our helmets on, we always put your ear protection, because I want to be able to hear someday. Our helmets, basically, these hook into our radios. And they're tight. I have extra cushion because I don't like all the extra noise. So I have to like ram and jam to get my ears in. There we go. And then we talk here. You always secure your helmet. And I get on my partners because I have one partner that doesn't like to tighten the back. This here has to be tight, because if we hit a wind shear, if she's not tight and you got your goggles on, there's enough weight on the helmet that it could actually throw your helmet off, and then you're not protected. We have day and night. So during the daytime when it's bright, I put my sunglasses on. And the other thing, and during the night I put just a clear shield. So I'm kind of fussy. I like to, and then we have night vision. So with night vision, you see it? Can't see. We can change the color on here. So we want the green. Otherwise, everything makes it really, really bright. And then I can see in the helicopter with my lift light, and I can use my lift if I want to actually be able to see in the helicopter when I'm mixing and doing meds and stuff like that. So another safety feature for us. Questions about anything?
Do you ever get any feedback from law enforcement about cell phone causing accidents.
Oh my God. Yeah, cell phones, I tell you what guys, if it was up to me, we wouldn't have cell phones. Cell phones are one of the biggest hazards that you can have in your vehicle. And if you're gonna have a cell phone, put it in your trunk. If you crash, you'll have to climb to the trunk to get it. Because you're gonna have more likelihood of having somebody find you versus the cell phone. Texting or driving. Teenager accidents, I can tell you probably 98% of the teenage accidents we fly have to do with texting and driving. So, you know, it's all about choices and what choices you make. And I'm sure you've heard this before. If you haven't, I bet you will in driver's ed. I look for the laws to change actually because it's so serious that I look for them to actually say you're not going to have anything, everything's going to have to be hands-free. A lot of your vehicles now, you can actually put everything into your vehicle and talk through your radios and your satellite system and stuff. I look for that to come down hard because it's going to save lives. And you guys are young. You can, you know, you can be anything you want to be and do anything you want to do. It's all about making good choices. And you know, I'll have to say, when I was younger, I thought I was always smarter, but I changed a few things I did, I'll tell you. I probably didn't do everything smart either, so, you know, learn from other people's mistakes, don't be part of the problem and learn the hard way, because you may not survive it. And if you do, you may end up, you know, paraplegic, quadriplegic, you know, and you have your whole life ahead of you. So you really, really want to think about that before you make that text. And text, friends don't let friends text while driving. All right, friends don't let friends drive drunk. And don't text a friend when you know they're driving somewhere. There's apps out there you can put that, I'm sorry I'm driving right now, but I'll call you when I get to my destination. That would be a great app to have versus texting them back. And really there's probably not much that can't wait until you get to where you're going anyway. And your parents will probably be pretty proud of you too. All right, any other questions? Anybody? No? Thanks for having me, guys. Give her a round of applause.
How much is your weight? Like with your scissors and your, what do
50
you all
pounds.
carry?
No, I'd like to think it was 50
Oh,
pounds.
what do you all
No.
carry on you?
Oh,
You got
my
scissors?
pockets. I have lots. I have more than anybody. Everyone loves my pockets. So I always have alcohol swabs and a calculator, a pen. I have our paperwork that we have to fill out when we get somewhere, and I have note cards because us nurses, we always take notes. Gloves. I have scissors that will cut through almost anything. Pens. Hemostats. My pockets. I have IV stuff. I can put an IV in anybody that wants it right now. I have IV tubing because some of the hospitals, we have different gadgets and gadgets than other places do. So they may not have some of the stuff I really like to work with. So I put probably more in my pockets than anybody. I have syringes ready to go. In this side we do a lot of IVs on the floors at the hospital. So I have everything for my IV kit that I need if I go up to the floor and I can't find anybody to tell me where I'm going, or they'll tell me a room when I leave. And then saline flushes, I always carry at least 3 or 4. I'm a little extravagant
She's got a
today.
zipper on the bottom part of it.
Oh.
That, you can't see
Yeah.
where she's getting everything.
I have zippers on both sides that I have pockets that are about this deep. And it's always funny when people say, well, I really like your suit. And I actually had a person ask me, our name of our program is lifeguard, and they asked me how well I could swim. And I said, well, honestly, I had explained to them that I really wasn't a swimmer because I would probably drown, and that was the name of our air service. But every once in a while, you will get somebody to ask you something like that, which is kind of different, because they don't know. Anytime we're in our blue suits, whether we want to be nice or not, we better be nice. We are very publicly, people that come through the hospital and stuff, we're in our blue suits. It's our unit, that's who you are. You are nice and you're always nice. We do have an office. Paperwork, you know, nothing's done until the paperwork. When we fly a patient, we have a chart we have to do. Document everything we did, when we did it, why we did it, what the result of the patient was. So that's the last thing. It takes about 3 hours to do a chart. So if we get back, I'm off at 7, and I get back at 6:30, I've got to stay until that chart's done. That's pretty much what we do. If for some reason you're going to be back the next day, you have 24 hours, honestly, that my manager says within that 24 hours you have to have it done, but usually we try to get them done the same day, because otherwise you start the next day and you're already behind 3 hours on a chart. So I like to have that stuff done.
Okay, we gotta get going about this.
All right.